I got a candy bar. Boy, I got 3 cookies. Hey, I got a package of gum. I got a rock.
You're listening to the Mike Cara radio program, Eye on the Nation.
Well, welcome back to our next edition, the Mike Cara radio program, Eye on the Nation. We definitely have our Eye on the Nation, as always, probably broadcasting from Ocoee, Florida, USA, planet Earth. And today we want to do kind of a special show as Halloween is right around the corner. We want to bring you some Halloween safety tips and how to stay safe around the Halloween holiday. And with us today is Mr. Chris Sutton, who is a former street cop, sheriff, maximum security prison guard, author, and 6th-degree black belt. And he's created a self-defense system called C.O.B.R that is like a police academy for civilians. And if Chris sounds familiar, we actually had Chris on just actually a few days ago, but we appreciate Chris coming back so quickly because I want to do a rush job on this because I know Halloween is coming and I wanted to allow enough time that this show get posted on the website so we could use some of these tips. And before we get started, Chris, I have one quick story I will regale with the audience. And about 24 years ago, actually, believe it or not, I'm getting a little up there. I was a freshman in high school and was my last year trick-or-treating. And I'm not ashamed to say that I was there trick-or-treating with my mom, riding in the old car about, 300 or 400 feet away in the shadows, just making sure everything is okay. And, in no way was I a mama's boy, anything but that. And she trusted me, but she didn't necessarily trust everybody else. And I'm glad that there are parents like that, especially mine, that do care and do want to give kids their freedom. And we want to talk about these safety tips. And we also want to let everyone know that it's not all just about kids, that a lot of this is going to be kids' safety, but Halloween affects everyone. So, Chris, we understand that there's 10 safety Halloween tips. And could you go over those, please?
Oh, thanks for having me back on, Mike. What I've got here is just the top 10 right off the top of my head. I worked a lot of Halloweens as a police officer, so I had the privilege to see some of the calls coming in and work the calls, some of the things that happen on Halloween, good, bad, and ugly. So you know what the criminals are plotting and planning for certain holidays. It's a no-brainer. Some of this stuff's going to be very basic, but some of it should be an eye-opener as well. There's a lot of stuff we don't actually think about when it comes to safety. And it's not self-defense isn't just kicking and punching. It's protecting our best interests, our physical body, and everything around us. So the top 10, number 1, especially when you have kids, start early. I mean, there's no reason to start when the sun goes down. Not only when the sun's out, you get to see everyone in costume, but just general safety. Criminals are less likely to commit a crime in broad daylight. Does it happen? Absolutely. But there are mitigating factors when you talk about the formula. When a bad guy goes through his roll call in his head, okay, are there people around? No. Is it nighttime? Yes. All these things start to add up to taking the opportunity. When we talked about the lion and how it hunts last time, they like to hunt at night for a reason. Stealth. The bad guys like to commit crimes at night just for stealth and being able to conceal their intentions. So start early. Start an hour and a half before the sun goes down, and as the sun is going down, you should wrap it up. And there's no reason to be out too late. Number 2, when you have a 6, a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, and you're walking up to the houses, you should be in view at all times when that person opens the door. Do you have to walk up with them? No, not necessarily. As long as when that door opens, the prospective homeowner or whoever's living there, the resident, can see you in the background. Hey, they're with their parents. Okay, if I was going to do anything funny, if I was, you have even issues of people just opening the door to expose themselves. That happens and has happened quite a bit. So if they see an adult in the background, they pump the brakes a lot of times. And, you want to see what your child's doing, how they're acting, and, whoever's opening that door should see you. That's one of the first things they should see. Number 3, a real danger, pets. You're beating on the door, and the homeowner, doesn't tie Scruffy up or whatever his dog's name is, but it happens to be, a 100-pound German Shepherd. That's a big deal. The 7-year-old thinks nothing of of it. The homeowner thinks that the dog's friendly. Well, the dog's friendly to you because you own it. I don't know how many dog bites I've worked or out of control animals, but pets are very protective, especially when you're pounding on their door. They'll start to bark, and a lot of animals are nice. But at the end of the day, dogs do bite, and kids, they don't. Especially if they have a pet at the house, and they have their own dog and they're friendly with it and they're used to petting it. They might reach out and get a finger taken off or bitten, or even just a real friendly dog, a big dog. I remember, getting a call and a dog jumped up and just the paws hit his face, knocked him down. Needed medical attention. Even though he knocked him down and began to lick him, it was still an 80-pound dog against about a 70-pound child, and it didn't turn out very well. So they don't have to necessarily attack or be aggressive to cause damage. So parents, be cognizant of dogs in the house. When you're walking, number 4, you see it all the time. Kids, carrying glow sticks or something reflective on them. That's huge, because if you do stay out past, the time the sun goes down, you want to be seen. A lot of Halloween costumes not only obstruct your vision when you're walking, but they're dark. A dark costume, you have obstructed vision, and no one can really see you on the sidewalk or walking across the road. That can be a recipe for disaster. So, you have to light these kids up, and even adults. I mean, you use them on bikes, you use joggers, wear a vest early in the morning and late at night. Even shoes have reflective coatings on them, so when people are running, that you can see the shoes at night. And that leads me to number 5, traffic. That can be a real killer. You have to remember, a lot of sidewalks are at the end of a driveway. And if you ever had, a 7 or 8 or 9-year-old stand behind a vehicle, and if you look in your rearview mirror, you really can't see them. I mean, they're small. So someone might be backing out as you're walking behind their vehicle or pulling in. And once again, now we have obstructed vision with the costume. It's dark out. You have a small person. Maybe they ran 30 feet ahead of their parents, and they're really excited. And, Mommy, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to catch up with little Johnny, or I'm going to go to this house. And someone's just backing out of their driveway to go to the store. Completely harmless, but once again, all that stuff adds up to a dangerous situation. So traffic is a major issue when it comes to overall awareness and self-defense on Halloween. The candy factor. I remember growing up, and what was it? There's needles and nails or something in the candy, a razor blade. You got to watch out for that. The guy on the end of the street might do that. Well, obviously, visually inspect everything you get. Never take anything that's homemade. Never take an apple or baked brownies. Not because everyone in the world is bad, just because I don't want a stranger's food that they prepared in their house. Eat something that is in a package, a sealed package. A parent should go through and inspect every little thing. Is it foolproof? No, absolutely not. But you can see, your eyes can tell a lot. I mean, if something's been damaged, open, punctured, or anything like that. And one thing that people don't take in consideration, not only is it a hard object they might put in there, that's less likely than some things I've seen and heard about, chemicals. Spraying chemicals on candy and then washing it off lightly, it still has that residue. Then it gets on your hands, and then it gets on their face. And people do strange and very sadistic stuff just for kicks. I mean, let's put chemicals, Clorox bleach all over this all over this candy, and maybe they don't like children, maybe they don't like Halloween, but chemicals in the candy or on it, just as an kind of an aggregate or to get on the child's face or whoever has the candy. I mean, that's a real threat. So, solid objects, chemicals, and make sure you inspect everything they get in that bag. And don't start eating the candy until you get home, unless they give it to the parent and you have a full inspection of it. One thing I like to do is advise people for number 7, knock and retreat. That goes back to, you're knocking on a stranger's door, and this is a holiday, everyone intends to have fun, but if you knock on that door and you stand right in the doorway, that's a stranger's house. Knock and step back 5 feet. Not only, you might have that big dog running out, but make them come out to you. Never go into anyone's house. This sounds like common sense, but I can't tell you how many times I've seen, children knocking on doors and they walk in and there might be a bucket of candy there, and they ask the child to walk in and get it themselves. Well, that's nonsense. Don't do that. Knock on the door, retreat 3 or 4 feet. The parent should be able to see the child. The parent should also be able to see the door. This isn't walking on eggshells. This isn't being paranoid. This is just general stuff that can prevent a lot. So definitely knock, retreat about 5 feet, make that person come out to you. Basic safety in numbers. There's not a 7 to 10-year-old that should be dressed up, doing their own thing, walking around the block in a skeleton costume. They're 7 to 10 years old. One of the things I like to say about bad guys on Halloween is strangers get stranger in costume. If I'm a criminal, and criminal is defined as someone who has their standard behavior is to manipulate, steal, lie, break the law, cut corners. So they could be a person with a house who's been to jail 3 or 4 or 5 times for something that you and I wouldn't necessarily do. So I would label them as a criminal. They're looking for an opportunity, and your child's walking around unsupervised on a night where bad guys can come out and play and put on a costume too and think up something to do that is not necessarily something a good person would do. And we wouldn't even see them. We wouldn't even see it coming because, hey, this is normal behavior on Halloween. Everyone's dressed up. Adults are walking past kids. And so you shouldn't have your child walking by himself, even with other kids. 4 or 5, 10-year-olds walking just around the block. If a parent says, hey, just go around the block and come on back when you're done, that's just a poor decision overall. Children should not be out and have that responsibility. There's just too much going on Halloween. So safety in numbers. Number 9, teens. If you're a parent and you have a teenager, now a lot of teens still like to go 13, 14, but you got an 18, 19-year-old, and they're out. Most likely they have other plans. It's not getting candy. A lot of bullies like to go out and steal other kids' candy on Halloween. They like to knock on the door, run away. They like to steal the entire bucket if you put it outside. So if you have a 15-year-old that isn't into holidays and really doesn't talk about Halloween, but all of a sudden he wants to go trick-or-treating, think that he might have another plan. Not all of them. If you have a good child, you know it. And, of all people, the parent should know the basic behavior of their child. But if they like to get in trouble a lot, they're always in trouble at school, and now they're going to go out with the friends that they keep getting in trouble with to go trick-or-treating, they're probably not trick-or-treating. They might have something else going on. Number 10, drinking and driving on Halloween or any holiday. A lot of people get together and there's wine or alcohol. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. But you get in a vehicle and now everyone's dressed in dark clothing. Everyone's wearing masks or has obstructed vision. It's nighttime or it's getting dark. This person's been drinking. Everyone, once again, they're short people. 7, 8. 9 years old, you won't be able to see them backing out. It's hard to see them in front or side of the vehicle. They're in dark clothes. It's getting darker outside. So all these things start to add up, and now this person's been drinking, and they're going to go up to the store, and they're going to get food for the party, and whack, because the kid was running across the road and wanted to get to the house across the street to do trick-or-treating. So be cognizant. A lot of adults are doing things maybe they shouldn't be doing on holidays, and all these stars will line up, and the bad stuff starts to happen. So those are my top 10. And in that bonus I like to throw in there, strangers become even stranger in costume. So, Halloween, a lot of weird things can happen. And we'll talk about adult safety as well. But those are my top 10 plus the bonus, Mike.
Oh, that sounds really great. Appreciate that, Chris. And now we want to talk, as we were mentioning, about adult safety. But another thing that I think a lot of parents are wondering is, how do they need to deal with something? We're talking about the bullies. Let's say there is a bully, and they're like you said, bully comes out of nowhere. You're there. Bully's trying to take, your child's, son's or daughter's candy. I think parents are wondering, oh, I'm going to show that 13-year-old. I mean, there's certain, it goes beyond what advice do you have when you're right there and your child's being abused?
Well, if you have a full-grown adult, and I'm walking my 7 or 8-year-old, my son, and a teenager is more like, the scenario is a teenager is bullying my child in front of me. Now, that should not happen because you are the red light. You're the adult. You're the responsible one. But at this point, with a teenager especially, if there's no contact, what you have to remember in bullying is, I wrote in my book, The Psychology of Self-Defense, when I see a bully, when I see a bad guy, and he is talking, I picture him in boxers, pink boxers, eating cotton candy and sucking his thumb, and all I hear is the noise from, Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. Those words don't mean anything. Especially if you're there, you put the child behind you, hold their hand, you keep your composure as the adult, and you don't challenge. You never go down to their level. That's what bullies want. They want you to engage. Oh, yeah, well, you're dumb. You're dumb. I'll kick your butt. They love that. That's why they're doing it. It's attention. So never go down to their level. You keep your composure. Listen, I need you to step back. We're trick-or-treating. Please stop it. Thank you. And you begin to walk away. Now, if this 13, obviously you're going to have to go hands-on with anyone who tries to touch you. 13, 14, 15, if you can articulate, hey, listen, I tried to get away, and this kid just ran at me, and, he was trying to push us down or hit us, so I had to defend myself. At the end of the day, self-defense is when you don't want something bad to happen to you, your physical body, so you actually had to take action to keep it from happening. That's what self-defense is at the end of the day. If you're not the primary aggressor, I didn't want it to happen, I tried to get away, I had no other choice. It doesn't matter if they're, a child or anything like that. Obviously, 13-year-olds come in all shapes and sizes, so some of them are full grown. And those are extenuating circumstances, and that's the worst case scenario. If a bully is out there talking to a child and you're not around and they're trying to take the candy, if this child's much bigger, give them the candy, walk away. Guess what? You can get another bag, get some more candy. You cannot lose your composure and flip out and go down to their level, because words are just words. The sticks and stones thing, that is so true. We do a drill in C.O.B.R. It's called assertive confrontation. You'll have someone standing 3 feet in front of you. You're not allowed to touch them. One person will play the bully or the aggressive person, the out-of-control parent at the softball game or whatever it is. And you'll just try to really antagonize this person, and they have to keep their composure, and they have to talk you down, and they have to find a way out with no contact. That's a great drill. It's a great drill. So when it comes to bullying, they're fueled by what you give them back. The less you give them, the less you get under their skin, they're just going to find another target.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. And now another question, Chris, I'm sure myself, a lot of parents are wondering, again, we talk about, if the parent's there, that's the biggest deterrent. But let's say the parent is either, across the street or is somewhere else. And I always wondered if, we're talking about, never go into a stranger's house. But if somebody says, if your child comes back and says, Mommy, that man wanted me to, or Daddy, that man wanted me to go into, their house, then immediately, your thinking is, well, I got to call 911. I got to do this. I got to do that. But I mean, what's the proper way to go about that?
Well, I throw the common sense label on it. If they open the door and you see a bucket of candy and, their standard is, some people are just raised completely different. Remember the old days, people would say, I used to leave my front door unlocked or my car unlocked, and I never had a problem. Nowadays, you got to lock everything up. Well, someone from a different time period might say, it's right here, because they have a little foyer and you can walk in, it's very visible. They might be completely harmless, but I would not go back to that house next year. Now, if someone says, why don't you come in for a while and, I want you to, I got, how about something to drink or something to eat? Well, that's obviously, now that's the boundary. That's where you have a red flag. I mean, he could once again, or she could be completely harmless and just overly nice, but I don't want to have to find out the hard way. So you just kind of interview the child. Hey, they wanted you to come in for candy? Did you see candy? Yeah, there's a bucket of candy. Okay, well, let's go to the next house. Done, it's over with. You might tell your friends or other parents, hey, don't go to that house. He wants them to go inside. Because the police will come out. If there's no crime committed, there's nothing they can do. If they're coaxing them in, or the worst case scenario, reaches out and tries to pull him, why don't you just come in, and tries to pull him in, obviously, 911, yeah, this guy put his hands on my child, try to pull him into the house, and my child ran screaming. So it's case-by-case scenario. case by case, absolutely. So.
Okay, and yeah, Chris, we talked about, we're talking about children's safety, but, we kind of touched upon adult safety. But, I mean, there's a lot of things that we have to remember, and that's the thing, respectfully, you don't know what creep could be under these costumes. And, I've come to the conclusion after 39 years that, it's not that you can't trust anyone. You just have to, like you said, be cautious, and you got to look out for red flags more than ever.
Oh, absolutely. So we're going to talk about adult safety. When we talk about self-defense, a lot of people say, well, do I have to be paranoid? You can't trust anyone? No. Imagine driving down the road 50 miles an hour. Are you paranoid about every single car? No. Are you worried about every little crack in the road? No. Even when it's raining, you're not really paranoid. You're really comfortable driving. Do you know that people really don't have a radar for self-defense? Things don't show up on their radar. If you ever watch that movie Terminator, it was, I'm sure a lot of people, the audience has. Terminator would look at a person or a situation, and off to the side, you would see all this red coding, all these red words coming up, and it would say non-threat or threat at the bottom. That's how quick it should happen. You should be able to look at something and get that red flag or that gut instinct. We have that for a reason. It keeps us safe. But when you're driving, you can be on the cell phone, eating a hamburger. A lot of, people are texting nowadays. You're doing 50 miles an hour in a very heavy piece of machinery. There's other drivers on the road. You have traffic signals everywhere. It could be raining outside, and we're not paranoid at all. And that's a really big task. So you should, because mentally you're looking ahead. You're looking at that light changing. The car in front of you stopped. Someone next to you is moving over, so, I'm going to honk my horn. This is, you're aware in traffic. We need to build this as a society, or you as an individual, if you're training or seeking this type of training, you have to build that overall awareness where you walk around and you just pick up on things like you would if you were driving somewhere. So adult safety, one of the biggest things I can advise, if you have adults, say a group of adults, or especially teenagers, knocking on your door and you give them candy and they go about your business, a lot of burglaries and theft happen a week to 2 weeks after Halloween. You know why? Because I'm looking inside your house. I see all of your property. I'm scoping out that nice painting, maybe that nice watch on your hand when you open the door, and that might be in your bedroom when you leave and go to work. I'm looking inside your garage. I'm seeing all your fishing equipment and all your tools. These teenagers or criminals in general, they knock on your door not to get candy, but to what we call scope the area. Okay, look at all this property. This is a house that I would burglarize. This is a place that I would, we call it, they're scoping, they're surveying. This is a place that I would, as a criminal, be turned on to, They see if you have a dog or not. They look in your window. Okay, is there an ADT sign? Is there an alarm sign? So they're picking up all this general information. So what I can, one of my best pieces of advice is move all your valuables, keep your garage door shut, because, hey, as soon as Halloween's over, 2 days later, when your car's not in the driveway, they're going to go into your house, steal all of your nice tools out of your toolbox, go to the pawn shop, make a couple $100 off of that, and you won't even know who did it. So you got to watch out for a lot of theft, and that all happens after Halloween, after they've built their information on all the houses they're going to hit. Even in even nice cars. Hey, this is a nice car. I'm going to steal this car in about a week. So. People walking up with those type of intentions, they're basically looking at the lay of the land. Hey, look at all this stuff. If they have the intent to do it, now they have the information, and that's when they start committing those crimes. House parties for adults, say you're done trick-or-treating with your family, with your child, but the neighbor next door, they're just, the music's loud, they're out front drinking, they're doing all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with dialing 911. I want to remain anonymous because you don't want to, become the black sheep in your neighborhood. And have some, because if you go out there and try to solve it yourself, unless you have a great relationship with your neighbor, a lot of people get in fights on the front lawn during holidays because everyone's getting carried away. And there is nothing wrong with calling the police. Hey, can you just do a check over here at this neighbor's house? Can you just do a drive-by? The music's extremely loud. You can hear it houses away, and you just be very detailed about your complaint. And more often than not, it's a big deterrent when a patrol car comes through the neighborhood hey guys, can you keep it down, please? We've received several complaints. Just ask to remain anonymous, and that will keep the waters calm. After the holidays, you might see your neighbor again. You don't want to really have that poor relationship with them. So, it's, as far as adults, especially being on the road during the holiday season, it doesn't matter if it's Thanksgiving, if it's Christmas, St. Patty's Day, Halloween. There are a lot of after-hours parties, Halloween costume parties. Give any type of bar and grill or a place of employment, where you work. Give any type of reason to have fun and have a party, and people will take it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But then they got to get on the road, and then they got to drive. So, be careful for people driving under the influence during the holidays. Be careful about people scoping your house. Be careful about neighbor complaints. And those are the biggest things for adults that we can talk about right now.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that is good to know. And kind of along those lines, one thing we want to mention, and we very much discourage because it is very dangerous. And personally, I don't think it's very fun. And it's the pranks, it's the toilet paper, it's the eggs. And of course, my grandmother always used to say that she used to actually years and years ago get whole oranges thrown at her, and it really wasn't fun for her either. But I mean, as far as the pranks go, I mean, especially if somebody's egging your house, again, it seems, Chris, that you would recommend call 911, probably not get out there, and especially don't get out there if you're drinking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When you hand the ball off to the authorities, you've taken so much off of your lap. Is it tedious to take all those calls? Absolutely. I mean, especially on 4th of July. I mean, every little firecracker that goes off, sometimes it generates a call, and then you got to go out. People are just trying to have a good time. But vandalism's huge during Halloween. People like to dress up, throw eggs, do the toilet paper. The biggest piece of advice I can give is perception is reality. If your house looks more fortified than the next, fortified meaning there are more deterrents, get a beware of dog sign even if you don't have a dog. Because you know what, if I'm that teenager thinking about jumping your fence and throwing some dye in your pool, because kids that jump the fence and throw red dye in your pool or eggs or whatever it is, or they're just jumping the fence to get to the next neighborhood, and I see that sign, I don't have to look for the dog. I don't even have to hear the dog. Perception's reality. Oh my goodness, I don't know what kind of dog this is, and it's almost better they don't know. It could be a Rottweiler, and you might have a Chihuahua. So perception's reality. Put up ADT signs. The ADT security alarm center, whatever alarm center you want to. Surveillance. The premises is under surveillance. Get those signs. Shouldn't look tacky. They should be in places where there's points of entry. On the window, the outside garage door has those little side doors. Your back sliding glass door, and maybe something in the ground. ADT gives you a sign you can stick in the ground. Say you don't have an alarm, say you don't have a dog, you should look like you have all the above. And keep the lights on. If I'm walking, me as a bad guy, if I'm walking up to the house and all the lights are off and it looks like no one's really there, that's a perfect time to throw stuff at the windows and put fireworks in the mailbox. Hey, look, no one's there, or they're asleep. At least we have enough time to do what we're going to do and get out of town, run down the street. So look the part. A lot of, I don't like to be, one of the big things that's annoying on Halloween to me is, it's 9:30, 10 at night, and I'm winding down, knock, 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 I think the general consensus is if the light is on out front on Halloween, you should knock. If it's not on, you should go past that house. That means they're not participating in Halloween, or they're done, they're out of candy. If there's no light on, don't knock. I've gotten to the point where you put a big bucket out there, and you just say, please take two. So it's kind of on its own. They don't knock on your door, they take it, and they leave. You leave your lights on, and the blinds cracked. So, hey, look, if I take this whole bucket, they're going to see me do it, so I'm just going to take two. Kids that take a handful, but once all the candy's gone, it's gone. I can shut that front light off, that porch light, and Halloween's over. And, that's the general rule of thumb on Halloween. You watch the vandalism, make sure you look the part. Hey, beware of dog. This guy's got a security system. Everyone in the house is awake and up. even when you go to bed, leave that living room light on so it looks like someone's in the living room, if you guys are winding down at night, because you got to remember, people commit crimes because they think they can get away with it. The more things you have in place that make it look like it's going to be a little more difficult task to get away with this, an alarm might go off, that dog might bite me, they might see me and witness me doing this out the window, so I might as well not do this house. Criminals have plenty of opportunity. You're just trying to make yourself look like less of an opportunity.
Oh, okay. Okay, Chris, is there anything else we should know, and any other safety tips you'd like to mention?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. There's a lot of common sense stuff out there. When it comes to self-defense, if it feels wrong, it is wrong. Do something about it. We have a 3-step process that we've written about in the C.O.B.R manuals and in all our training manuals called awareness, alarm, and action. That is the basic rule of self-defense. Awareness is something you're doing at all times. I'm aware right now. I'm doing a phone interview. It's daytime. I'm very aware, and I'm at a green light, which means everything's okay. Alarm is something's not right. If I got a guy coming into a bank in Florida, it's 95 degrees outside, and he's wearing a heavy coat, something's not right here. I don't like this. Your alarm should go off. A lot of people wait for what we call the definition of what's wrong. You don't need to know what it is. You just need to know it doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. If someone stops you out in the parking lot and they're talking really fast and they say they got this merchandise that they can sell at a low price and their boss is, it's a boss's sale or a manager's sale. Well, why are you selling stuff out of the trunk of your car in the year 2012 in the parking lot of Walmart? This doesn't feel right. This should be in a store. So you should go through that process. I'm aware. Okay, my alarm's going off. I'm at that yellow light. This isn't good. Slow down. And then action. An alarm and action can happen within a second. So once again, someone's talking to me out in the parking lot, and, then their partner gets out, and they're kind of walking around me, and I don't feel comfortable, and then I'm trying to walk away, and all of a sudden the guy, he reaches for my hand, tries to pull me in the car, then they want my wallet. So there's your action. So you have to take action now. You have to flee or you have to fight. You have to change the situation. That's that red light. So you have green, yellow, red. That's easy for everyone to remember. If you're not at green light, you need to be doing something to get back there. Because if you hover in yellow too long, that's when we have that action state. That's when things go bad real quick.
Okay, that sounds great, Chris. And before we go, again, we want to give you a little time. We kind of mentioning C.O.B.R throughout this whole thing, but yeah, tell us a little more about that. And if people are more interested about that, you have a website?
Yes, you can go to COBRADefense.com, COBRADEFENSE.com. And generally, C.O.B.R, all the books about C.O.B.R, the home study manuals, the hands-on training in the 10-week academy or the one-day camps, the program was built for anyone with any level of experience from all walks of life. I said in, I think, my last interview that we just graduated a guy. He was in the academy, had about 25 people in the academy, and there's an award called Top Gun. That's, it's for the best, the most points in all the scenarios that you do. And we do scenario training, which is we're going to put you in a real-life situation. This is a scenario that could really happen, and let's see what you do. So your mind locks onto that, and it thinks it's real. And the reason this program is so special and so important is because the training is so fast. It's not just punching a bag. It's not just kicking a bag. It's not just looking at it in a book. You literally experience it. And we try to trick the mind to make, this is real. This is really happening. So instantaneously, you learn. I mean, it's just amazing. So anyone from any walk of life, our last person that won Top Gun had Parkinson's. And once again, we have law enforcement, we have military, we have teenagers, we have people in their 60s and 70s, stay-at-home moms. Anyone can take the program, and that's the most important aspect, because there are a lot of programs out there. A lot of them are good, but there are also a lot of programs out there that just solicit one market. Hey, it's just kids, or it's just bully busters, or just females, or safety for for senior citizens. Well, this is everybody, because real self-defense is general for everybody. All the elements are the same.
Okay, thanks so much. Chris, my guest has been Chris Sutton, and you've been listening to the Mike Care radio program, Eye on the Nation, and please catch us again next time.